Welcome to the Big Picture Live here on January 28th, 2016. My name is Kevin Fent, and I am the host of The Big Picture, and we are here tonight live for this special edition of The Big Picture, which is, by the way, the first episode of Season 4 of The Big Picture. And we are live tonight because the Patriots are not in the Super Bowl.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's sad. We originally planned this because we were going to do a big Super Bowl review and all that for the Patriots, but the Patriots are not there. But despite our mourning, we are still here and we're on live, and we're going to talk Patriots all night. So I have three guests with me tonight. I normally only have one if you're a big fan of The Big Picture and you watch it often. I first have Rob McCarthy over here. I have Marcel Dubois. I have Jonathan Fent. So that is my panel, and we are going to talk Patriots football tonight here on The Big Picture Live.
Let's do it.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Everyone's doing good, yeah.
All right, so we're going to start off talking about the regular season, the Patriots regular season. And my impression was that the Patriots regular season started great. Obviously, they went 10-0 or something like that.
Right.
And then it kind of fell apart from there. So maybe, Marcel, we'll start with you. What happened?
You know, I don't know. I think everybody seems to point to the Philadelphia game. They were up 14-0, and they tried that pooch punt or whatever.
They tried that, yeah.
You know, and I said to myself, watching that game, I said, you wonder if Belichick's not trying to see what he has. Up 14-0, what do you have to lose? The team, Philadelphia, wasn't that good at the time.
Right.
Maybe he was trying to experiment, and you kind of said, well, okay, 14-0, and it seemed to fall apart from there. And it's just beginning of the end, actually. It
seemed like the defensive part was still there all season.
Absolutely.
The defense played very, very well all season, better than their stats even indicate. But it really seemed like the offense kind of took a tumble there, and there's a lot of reasons for that. What do you think on that, John?
Yeah, the offense certainly tumbled in that game, which I agree with Marcel. That was the turning point of the season. Belichick decided to get a little cute and, tried that onside kick. But it wasn't just that. The Patriots were actually letting loose all of their trick plays that game, trying to get back into the game.
Right.
They had that
the
Brady wide receiver thing. I was like, okay, that would have been nice in like an AFC Championship game against Denver or something like that.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, it was just ever since they lost Deion Lewis, that was just a huge hole in that whole offense.
Right.
The offense completely changed after that. Brady couldn't get the ball as quickly as he normally would have, and
Kind of lost that safety valve.
Yeah, because just because of the offense was very, very shaky after that. Obviously, after he was out, and they obviously were not the normal offense after that.
Right. So, I mean, obviously the offense took a tumble there in a lot of different ways, and injuries were a part of that. Rob, what do you just tell us a little bit about
obviously Rob Gronkowski after he was out, and then obviously Edelman and then Amendola, and then it just kept going and going and going, and then they were it was just really, really shaking the offense.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the losses, I mean, the one game, I forget which game it was when everybody was out. I mean, you're sitting there going, how on earth is this offense going to score? They don't have anybody. I mean, they're down to Kenyon Martin, who picked up from the powerhouse of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
The practice squad.
who was okay, but he wasn't really the same as all those other guys that had been along, Amendola and Edelman and what have you. So when we look at the season, we see the turning point really being that Philadelphia game. And maybe Belichick tried to get too cute. If you think about it, they lost the number 1 seed by 1 game. If they'd won the Philadelphia game, the rest of the season wouldn't have mattered, quote unquote. But as it got to the end of the season and they started getting guys back, when Amendola was back and Gronk was back, and they picked up Steven Jackson as a running back, those 2 final games of the season, the Miami game and I forget what the second one was. The Jets.
Yep.
I'm not going to say they tried to lose those games, but they didn't appear to try to win.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I agree with you. I think what they were doing was trying to stay healthy. I really believe that. I guess I didn't really question it at the time. I'm thinking they thought they could have won both games trying that hard. And I think they were trying to stay fresh. Because what happened with Gronkowski in 2011?
Yeah, right.
Before that Super Bowl,
We got hurt right before the playoffs.
Right before the playoff. He didn't want that again. He had his guys coming back. Edelman was just coming back. He didn't want to risk it. He figures, well, I'm good enough to win this game. And maybe it was a little bit saying, hey, I think I can win this. And realized, well, no, they came to play. We
Right.
were the Super Bowl champs. Both teams,
Yep.
especially the Jets. And
Special. Well, the
Dolphins,
Jets always give us a tough
and the
game.
Dolphins
in Miami
in
have been a
Miami.
problem. Have been a problem for all these years,
And
and
they're
so
really fired. This is their Super Bowl. Get her out of the playoffs
Yep.
long before that.
Yep.
I think that's what he was thinking. And at the time, I'm thinking, I was thinking the same thing. Let's just stay healthy. You don't
Right.
lose the guys winning against Miami, but
yeah.
that's what
The Miami game is the one I look at because Brady only made 5 pass attempts in the first half.
It was a lot of running, and
Oh,
yeah, and they especially well, I mean, obviously with all those key receivers out and stuff like that, and they came back. Obviously, they're going to be doing a lot of running plays and stuff like that.
Right.
But obviously, it's you got to mix that up from running into
Right.
passing and stuff like that.
But it really seemed to me like I don't know whether he had an overestimation of the offensive line,
Yeah.
in terms of trying to run the ball so many times in the Miami game. But I really felt in the Miami game that's the one they should have won. The Jets always play us hard,
Exactly.
but they knew the number 1 seed was on the line in the Miami game.
That's right. Right.
And yet
That's
it didn't feel to me like they really tried to win.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely stuck to the running game, and it's not just they just stuck to the running game. They were just running up the middle every single play.
Right,
You
right.
know what I'm saying?
They were never running into the outside, and it was mostly up
No.
the middle.
Exactly.
But they were
exactly.
using Steven Jackson a lot in that game, right? Was that the
Yeah,
game
they
he
did.
was
That
trying
was
to
the
use
first game Steven Jackson.
Isn't
was
it true that Steven Jackson needs to have? He's a
downhill
workhorse.
runner.
He needs to
Yeah.
have, but he needs to have a lot of runs. You can't give him 1/3 down conversion. He's got to have consistent. He builds up his stamina or whatever it is, or his
Yeah.
technique, and so you got to keep giving him the ball. And I think that's what they were also trying to establish. Can Steven Jackson help us in the playoffs? And I think that was part of it. They
Right.
realized no, he can't.
But here's my thing, though. I don't know if he has a lot of versatility to go to the outside. I think, like you said, Marcel or Evan, he has to run right down the
Right
middle,
up the
and he
middle.
doesn't really have any longevity to go to the outside,
Right.
left or right. But obviously, he's a very good running back.
He's a tough kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a tough running back. I really saw them using Steven Jackson as the LeGarrette Blount replacement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And James
Absolutely.
White as the Dion Lewis
Yeah,
replacement.
that's right.
The problem was, of course, Steven Jackson wasn't nearly as good as LeGarrette Blount,
know.
and
Yeah.
James White wasn't nearly as good as Dion Lewis.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the problem with James White is that there was only a game or two that they actually used James White in that Deion Lewis type of
Right.
role. For the rest of the season, particularly late in the season into the playoffs, they were trying to make him Randy Moss.
Yes,
You
they
know
were.
what I'm saying?
Exactly, I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
we deep
Right.
threats
Yeah,
at all.
and we're
but,
going to talk about that in the AFC Championship
yeah.
game when that comes up. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They were really lining James White up as a wide receiver.
That's right.
And not as a running back. So it's funny you mentioned him being like Randy Moss. If only he were a foot taller.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all the points here. I'd just like to put another spin on it. I also do not believe the conspiracy theories of how they were like, we got to lose this game so that we don't have to go through Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We'll let
Right.
Denver deal with Pittsburgh, and maybe we can draw them.
I agree.
I'm not buying that at
agree.
all.
I agree.
However, to put a different spin on it, I always bring points back to the 2007 season.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, the season that was not to be.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the season that they ran the table until the Super Bowl. Okay.
Yep.
Now, do you think sometimes it can actually get to the Patriots' heads sometimes if they were trying to win all the time?
I think so, just because of obviously that it was going to be a perfect season in a lot of people's eyes, but obviously getting to the Super Bowl and losing, I think week after week after week, it finally got to their heads and getting to the big game, it really.
And you
got
saw
to
some
them.
of that last year. When they got to the final game against Buffalo last year, if you remember, they didn't really try in that game.
Right.
Brady only played a half a game. Gronk didn't play it. Edelman didn't play.
Right.
Amendola didn't play. It was kind of like a good part of this season. Nobody was there.
Right.
And they lost to Buffalo, but the idea being everyone's like, they're just saving up for the playoffs. And a lot of teams do that.
Sure.
But it felt like they were doing. Most teams will do that though when they're on an upswing.
Right.
And the Patriots
Right.
were kind of on a downswing this year when
Right.
they did that. I, however, was pleasantly surprised with how well they played in the Chiefs game in the first game of the playoffs.
Absolutely.
If they had come out and barely scraped by in that game,
Yeah.
you would have been, oh no,
Right.
But they really
They were fresh.
dominated
They
the
were
Chiefs
fresh.
in a lot of different ways.
Games against Kansas City in the last couple of years have always been difficult for the Patriots. I mean, they've been very hard battled games, and I don't know. It's been like that for the last 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And not to mention this time around, the Chiefs were the hottest team in the league.
They were.
They were
coming
on
in.
a
They had
13-game winning
streak. Yep.
Yeah, and they
That
came
was a
out
tough-
firing, and we just
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's completely dominated in that game. And the thing that I looked at in that Chiefs gave me a lot of hope which goes back to the regular season a little bit also, was the offensive line played really well in that Chiefs game.
really
Yeah,
did.
they really
You know,
did,
and so you're like, oh, maybe
we
this is
go.
going to come together for them in the offensive line, because they did not play well in the regular season. Even before the injuries happened,
Yeah.
they were not a good unit in those first 6 or 7 games before they started getting injuries. They allowed a lot of hits. They were not good at running the ball at all. And so, but you got to that Chiefs game, and you're like, oh,
Here we go.
they're
showed up.
gelling.
They
They're
showed
back.
up.
They're back.
They showed up.
They're
They
back.
showed up.
Yeah.
They're back. but you know, but the big problem they had moving on then, unless anyone else wants to still talk about the Chiefs. I didn't think so. Okay, the big problem they had in the Denver game, of course, was the offensive line.
Yeah, the offensive line was really, they were like Swiss cheese, and it was the right side of the offensive line was when the defense was rushing, they were very they were just letting players come by. It was awful to watch.
Yeah, and really, you know, Denver was only rushing 4 for most of the game.
Right.
They were not doing exotic blitzes.
Weren't they rushing 3 at one point?
At some point, they were only,
Yeah,
one point
it
they were
was
only
3,
rushing
4,
3,
yeah.
so that allowed them to drop the linebackers into coverage, which disrupts the short passing game, which is the Patriots.
killed
I mean,
them.
it was a perfect defensive plan if they had the horses to do it, and they did. Notice the horses there, the Denver Broncos. I thought that was pretty clever.
Very cute. Very
So
cute.
let's talk.
Very cute.
Good one. All right,
cute,
let's
very
talk
cute.
a little bit about the AFC Championship game. We're here in mourning. Rob is wearing black. You're wearing black. We're wearing dark blue.
Dark blue is
You
good.
know,
I'm wearing a black watch.
We're
Close
black watch. I'm wearing a black watch. You know, I've kind of been in the doldrums all week. I happen to have the misfortune of watching the game amidst 200 Denver fans on Sunday. What do you see as the key moments in that? Maybe Rob, you start off. What was the kind of the first key moment of that game?
The first couple of key moments that I think were obviously the first touchdown, obviously for the Patriots, and it came out of nowhere. But obviously I'm going to just keep coming back to the offensive line. They were they looked like they were not in the game, and it was very much it was tough to watch because the defense, like Marcel said, was rushing 3 guys, and there would be 4 guys, and they would be coming from the outside. And I don't know, it was really tough.
One of the interesting things with that first touchdown, of course, it was a rushing touchdown. For
Yeah,
everything we've
yeah.
talked about not being able to rush the ball, it was actually a rushing touchdown. Then, of course, we had what play, Marcel?
Well, I think the extra point.
The extra point.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, to add on to what Rob was saying, I have been watching Patriots games long enough to know, you know, there's a certain rhythm you expect in the first quarter. I don't know about you guys, but I watched that first quarter. I'm like, yeah, offensive line, absolutely, extra point missed. It just didn't feel right. There was something about that first quarter. I'm like, this is the kind of game where you know you're going to be chasing it all game.
Yep.
And I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like we were out of it because we're only down by 1
We
possession.
were never
most of the
really
game.
out of
Not
it.
really.
At all.
But it just was a terrible game to watch because I never felt like we had that momentum we were building. It was just it was a rough game to watch. And I think the extra, you know, you hate to, I'm not trying to put it on Gostkowski, but that extra, boy, that just something that says, oh man, he's so dependable, so reliable.
Well, he had hit with 500 of them in a row.
I think that might have broken the streak there for
Yeah.
PATs.
it's
what
just
they-
so-
Which is right now an unbreakable NFL record, by the way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
A lot of
Absolutely.
people have talked about that because they moved the extra point back, you're going
Right.
to have more missed
That's
ones.
right.
No one's
Right.
ever going to have that many in a row again.
Exactly.
Which
That's
by the
right.
way, Bill
That's right.
Belichick lobbied for.
Yeah.
He did, didn't he?
bit of
He
a
did.
butt-
did.
Isn't that ironic?
Been in the
Ironic.
butt a little bit there, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
you know, it is amazing if you watch football for any length of time how many times missed extra points figure into a game.
Absolutely.
You miss that extra point and it kind of blows the whole game up.
And
for
how
you.
close they are too, in a range that you would think that obviously an NFL kicker would be able to hit a PAT
Right.
at a reasonable range for
Sure.
a professional athlete.
With
but
no conditions,
they-
no
but they-
wind,
Yep.
no snow.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
So the first key moment I saw was the missed PAT, and I don't want to lay it on Gostkowski, but obviously the way the game, if he makes the extra point there and the game plays out the way it did for the rest of the way, they don't have to go for 2 at the end of the game to tie it. They kick a PAT at the end. It's tied. We go
Tie
to
ball
overtime with 17 seconds or 13 seconds or whatever left to go. So obviously that's a key moment, and to me Gostkowski is the best kicker in the league. I don't think that, even though when we watch football, every kicker is one of the best in the league. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
So-and-so,
Unbelievable.
he's missed 12 in a
Yeah,
row,
he's
but he's the best kicker in the league.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it happens.
In the National Football League.
Yeah. Right.
But to me, he really is the best. I mean, the statistics bear that out with his percentage of completion, the way he's able to complete the long ones, and he has money. So
Absolutely,
as you said, so
absolutely.
to have him miss that was a key moment in the game. Second key moment in the game. Anyone have a? I have one that I was kind of thinking of there. I think to me it was the second Brady interception.
Yeah.
When he gave it away on the 20-yard line. I don't know what anyone else thinks about that. I mean, it was just a bad pass.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't even hurried at all in that play.
Nope.
It was just poorly executed,
Right.
and it was just bad on Brady right there from
Right.
the start.
Yeah.
of
Right.
I think it was just like a missed coverage. Obviously, he saw somebody that was open, but came out of nowhere, defensive player, and then into
But you know what's funny though is that I know fast forwarding here to the touchdown to Gronkowski in the end zone. You know, that was a incredible throw. So you wonder if, you know, with the way he throws, you know, he probably saw something we didn't see and thought
Right.
something didn't extend an extra step here or there. Maybe he was anticipating, like he always does, you know,
Sure.
good route runner. But you know, you say, I don't know, maybe he saw something that we didn't see, and that completion.
Yeah,
something,
and
you know,
you
I
know,
don't know.
is it
It's hard
possible a
to
wide
know.
receiver went the wrong way, or I don't
yeah,
know.
just
One step.
misread a route or something.
Misread
like
a route
that.
or something like
Yeah.
that, but you know,
Yeah, it's just so
when you just
hard
watch
to-
the replay, I mean, there's nobody
was
there.
nobody there.
It's
Nobody
like
there.
it's like
Somebody missed.
Oh, that guy's wearing orange. So I mean, to me, that was a real turning point because
Yeah.
it put Denver on the 20-yard line. They scored an easy touchdown after that, and I don't blame the defense for that touchdown.
I agree.
You know, the Denver scored 20 points in the game total, but I really only blame the defense for 13
Yep,
of those
I
20
agree.
points because you can't stop them from going. It wasn't even 20; it was like 17 yards or something like that.
yeah.
So I don't put that one on the defense. That one really is on Brady,
Absolutely.
in my
Yeah,
opinion.
absolutely.
And I know it's hard to say that because we all know Brady's awesome, but
Yeah.
but to me that one is on Brady. So to me that was the second key moment in the game because if that touchdown doesn't happen, you know, even with just all the field goals piled up, the Patriots win the game.
Yeah, they're
you
still
know
in
they
the
might
game,
win
right.
at 18 to 13 or something like
Right.
that, but playing
Right.
out the rest of the game, that's
Right.
the way
That's
the
the way it
way it
finished.
happened. Which
Absolutely.
leads us to me what the third key moment of the game was, and that was the field goal at the end of the first half that Denver kicked. And the reason that's a key moment is simply because that was the winning
That
play
would
for
be the
them,
winning
or the
one,
beginning of the second half. Excuse me, beginning of the second half.
Yep.
Well, either one of them, it doesn't matter. Either one of them, because you know those were the winning points of the game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's talking about halftime and all that. What do you guys think about the Patriots actually deferring at the very
Ah,
beginning?
I was
Yeah,
just thinking
that
of that.
moment.
I was just thinking of that. Yes.
I-
yes.
Or the
the
opening
opening
kickoff.
kickoff.
I was just
They're
thinking of that.
usually not
Yeah,
the
that's
team to defer.
I've
anything.
never.
Yeah,
They never
especially
defer.
coming into the second half. Yeah.
You mean no? They always defer.
Yeah, they-
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I
They
meant.
always
That's what I meant.
defer.
They never get the ball.
They never take the ball.
They never
They
take the
always
ball.
defer.
But but something like that is like
It's-
I mean I'm a big I'm a big fan of saying that football's a physical game as well as a mental game.
Absolutely.
And I think
Right.
It's a rhythm.
with the
Sure.
Patriots not playing Patriot football by not deferring the
Yeah.
kickoff to have that little advantage there at halftime.
Here's my
and
question though,
all
just a
again.
general question. Do you think it was because of the wind?
I'm sure it had something to do with that. And I
Yeah.
think with bringing Edelman back, you want to get someone comfortable in the first.
Sure,
Give them the
sure.
first drive to get comfortable, even if they don't score. At least
Right.
you get them the ball a couple times
Right,
and
yeah.
kind of get into the rhythm of the game. A very hostile crowd, get them used to the noise factor and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure a lot of that played into it. But I agree. If you suddenly change I mean, it was like. Remember the game where they had the overtime and they deferred in overtime because they're just so used to deferring. It's what they do.
Right.
They didn't even think about
Right,
it. you
right,
know?
right, right,
We
right.
defer. Oh, no, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
We
Wait
want the
a
ball.
minute. Wait a minute. Now, did the coin actually flip? I wasn't sure if the coin flipped. Actually, it's a coin toss, right? It's not supposed to flip. It doesn't have to flip.
Yeah, it doesn't have to flip. It's a coin
Little
toss.
joke, little joke.
Anyway, but I saw those field goals because they were the winning
Yeah.
scores.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was particularly one in the second half. Obviously, that's an important one, an important moment of the game. Third important moment of the game. Anyone?
Going on fourth down?
Fourth
Going on
down. We got to talk about this.
Oh,
Just
boy.
set up the
Yeah.
situation for us there, Marcel.
I don't remember the details. I just remember it was what, 4th and 6?
It was
Fourth
no,
and
it was less than that. It was like 4th and 4.
Was it
Yeah,
4?
it was
Okay.
fourth and
okay.
On about the 20-yard line
Yeah.
with 6 minutes left to go in the game. And Belichick decides to go forward on 4th down
Instead of taking
with the
the-
goal of eventually getting the touchdown as opposed to taking the field goal.
Yeah, I didn't disagree with him at the time. I know it sounds crazy because of the outcome, obviously. No, I would have gone for it too. And I always look at it this way: if you don't make it, you're giving Denver the ball on the what would have been a.
Yeah, it was a 20-yard line or something.
There's no
like that.
loss in yardage,
Right.
and Belichick's always about the odds.
Yep.
You're putting them back to where you would have kicked it.
And the
anyways.
defense had played
Absolutely.
outstanding in the second half. Only allowed the
Absolutely.
one field goal.
That's right.
And they were really on top of it. They played a great second
And
half.
you can look back and say, yeah, it would have been, the points would have helped. But at the time, I thought it was the right call. There's a lot of time left. Brady only needs 35 seconds to score anyway. So I thought
in
it was
most
a good
games.
call. I didn't disagree with that call.
I agree.
thought that
I
was a good
agree with
call.
Marcel because obviously they're on the 20-yard line. Hopefully they can get the first down and maybe get a touchdown out of it. But obviously that wasn't the case. Yeah, I agree.
And you don't give up much yardage.
Yeah,
I couldn't disagree more.
Nice.
Okay.
When the,
All
game
right.
was,
All right.
when the game was happening,
Okay.
and they
Okay.
went forward on fourth down,
Okay.
there's 6 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
All right,
A lot of
to
time,
me,
plenty of
if it
time.
had been 2 minutes or 3 minutes left in the game, I agree with you guys. You go for the touchdown, you go for the points. You might not get there again, but with 6 minutes,
especially if the defense wasn't playing as well as they were in the second
especially
half.
if the defense
Yeah.
is struggling. But where the defense was terrific, they had 6 straight 3 and outs or something
Yeah,
like
they
that
were-
at
yeah,
that
they
point.
were
Yeah.
dominating.
With the way
Absolutely.
the defense
Yeah.
is playing,
Take the
the
points,
points,
take the
take the
points.
field goal.
Yeah.
Of course, it's easy for me to say that with hindsight, but
Well,
I'm
of
telling
course.
you, none of you were there. I was in Houston, but I yelled with all the Denver fans around me.
Oh, no.
I stood up and I was like,
Oh,
"What?"
the heck?
And then everyone's looking at me. Sorry.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm not home right now.
I guess maybe.
Look at the time.
I guess maybe because I'm not a big fan. I mean, I hate it when they settle for 3. I just hate that. I just go for it. I don't. It's just a
To me,
philosophy.
though, look at how many
you know?
times that field goal or 1 or 2 field goals makes a difference
I
in the
know.
game. You know?
I know.
Yeah.
But having said that, we're Patriots fans. We are used to the Patriots actually making those fourth down
Absolutely.
plays.
No,
You
we
know
are.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Except
I-
against Peyton Manning in the AFC Championship games.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Remember Wes Welker?
Yeah, but I did. I was listening to WEEI. Was it today or yesterday? Belichick, had a statisticians or whatever or however you ever say that word, said that he thought it was like a 75 to 80% chance that they would make it on the fourth down.
Okay.
So I mean,
So that's pretty high
he was running numbers, or he claims he was running numbers in his head
Yeah,
when he
and-
was making that decision.
He is the coach of the Patriots. He's won 4 Super
Yep.
Bowls. He's been to. I mean, I don't claim to know football better than Bill Belichick,
Right,
obviously.
right.
I'm just saying, when it happened, I was like, it's too early to do this.
Yeah.
Obviously they had the virtual same scenario 3 minutes later.
Right.
Where they were in, it was even closer. I think they were on the 15-yard line or something
Yeah.
like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
When it was 4th and 1.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
went for it again. I believe they should have gone for it then because they went for it at 6 minutes.
Sure.
But as the game played out, in hindsight, if they had kicked the field goal at 6 minutes and they kicked the field goal at 3 minutes,
Of course, I would have.
they would have won the game.
Would have won the game.
Right.
And they only would have needed a field goal
Yeah.
on the last drive. They wouldn't have needed a touchdown
Right.
at the end of the
Right.
game to win it, not just tie it, to
That's
win
right.
it. That's the way it played out.
Right.
Um,
But then again, what if they would have gotten the touchdown at that point, 4th and whatever it was, and they scored the touchdown?
Yep.
It changes the game anyway.
They would change the game because they would have been tied.
Absolutely.
They would have tied, or they would have been 1 point
It would
behind.
have- yeah,
So they
so
would have needed one of those.
You think they would have gone for
field
2
goals.
at that point?
No,
No,
not
they-
at 6
you-
minutes.
no,
Not
no,
at 6
You
minutes.
take this. Take
No,
the seven,
you
take the
absolutely
seven.
go for 2 at that
You think
point
so? You
because
think they take
well,
two?
because
It's
the
less
extra
pressure.
point is
Less pressure.
is irrelevant at that because you could a field goal would still win the game.
That's right.
Okay, you're
Yeah,
right.
you wanna get
You're
close.
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. So they would have taken. They would have gone for 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they would
So-
have been 18-20 with 6 minutes or 3 minutes left to go.
Yep.
And a field goal would have won the game there. So that's
Interesting,
my
interesting,
feeling. I
interesting.
at 6 minutes.
Yeah.
You take
Yeah.
the points. You take
Okay.
the points. Belichick said in the press conference he didn't know when they were going to get down there again, and I can appreciate that. It was the first time in the second half they had gotten anywhere close to the end zone.
right.
As it turned out, the next 2 drives they got that close also. But there's no way he can know that in
course not,
advance.
of course not.
But I still think your defense is playing great. They've had however many, I think it was 6 straight 3 and outs. At that point, you take the points and see what happens.
But if the Patriots took the points there, do you think Denver's offensive play calling would have changed?
No, because it was still 1 score. I think Denver still plays the game the same way. They were still 1 score away. I mean, the whole second half, the Patriots were within 1 score. So it's not as though the Denver was sitting there. Well, we'll just run the ball
Right, yeah,
and
it's
see
one
what happens.
possession.
They were trying
Right.
to score
Yeah, it's
throughout
one
that
possession.
entire second half
Yeah.
because they needed to, and they needed to put the game away. And they, I think you could see it in their faces on the sidelines when the Gronk touchdown happened. They're like, "Oh no!"
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were right
yeah.
there.
Unbelievable.
And of course, when the
That
2-point
sequence was-
conversion, there's the flip of that. But you saw it in their faces. They're like, if only we had scored another field goal,
Exactly.
then we would have been okay. And that didn't happen. So, anyway, the way it turned out is the way it turned out. We lost by a couple points. At least we didn't get blown out in that game. But I got to believe, going back to the regular season, and this is kind of something I want your opinion on. I got to believe, going back to the regular season, that had the game been in Foxborough instead of in Denver, that the Patriots win that game. What do you think about that?
Most of the time I would agree with you there, but I would say 90% I agree with you. Okay. My other 10% is telling me if they were in Foxborough, would Sebastian Vollmer still be able to block DeMarcus Ware? I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? That pass rush was just out of this world.
Yes.
Was out of this world. And the Patriots offense at that time, without establishing a run game, the Patriots offense is predicated based upon that, that run game setting up the passes.
Sure.
I mean, without that.
The only thought I have on that is, and I'm going to ask you guys what you think about that, but the only thought I have on that is that the Denver crowd did a great job of keeping it loud the entire time. And you saw specifically in the first half that it actually bothered the Patriots offense a little bit, I think. That doesn't happen in Gillette.
Right.
So, the stadium would be silent. There'd be people, for the
Right.
offense. And you got to think that maybe the offense would have picked up some of those things a little better.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just saying, going back to the regular season, you win that Jets game, you win that Philadelphia game, you win that Miami game, all very winnable games.
Right.
And that game on last Sunday happens in Foxborough. And I think maybe it goes the other way. Maybe it's 2018 Patriots instead of 2018 Denver. I do think the teams are very close. But I think the Patriots get that little extra edge in Foxborough. Maybe Gostowski doesn't miss the extra point in Foxborough the way he does in Denver. I mean, there are all these things. And I just got to believe that the Patriots don't lose that game in Foxborough. So it goes back to kind of, I won't say tanking, but not trying all that hard in those couple of games at the end. So we've seen this happen before. Denver, Brady in Denver, Superman, Kryptonite. What's the deal, Marcel?
All right. Well, let me just start off by saying this: is that I will never ever give Peyton Manning credit he deserves. Ever.
Okay, I can
cannot
appreciate
stand.
like
I
this guy.
cannot stand watching Peyton Manning play football. I don't care if it was with the Colts or it was with the Broncos.
Tennessee.
He is just the most annoying. And I said it when I was watching the game here at RCTV. The most annoying quarterback to watch. His cadence, his audibles.
I know. I hate that.
Just
I
hype
hate
them.
that.
And
I
it's
hate
just.
that.
I would like to see a split screen. Take Peyton Manning when he's. It doesn't matter. Indianapolis or Denver, and put a split screen with Brady on his cadence. It's night and day. Peyton Manning's an amateur as far as I'm concerned. He goes off of that constant line calling and pointing out this and pointing out. He's just hike the ball. He's so annoying. And, I'm never going to give him the credit because when he played with the Colts, he was playing indoors.
Yep.
He played 8 of his game inside this stadium with piped-in music,
which we know
is true.
Yep.
And he had
with
how many
great
Hall of
wide
Famers?
receivers.
Exactly. And a running
Marvin
back.
Harrison,
Reggie Wayne
in their prime.
T.Y. Hilton
What are you
in their
kidding me?
prime.
Just getting back to
It's
Peyton Manning though with his cadence, he did the same exact thing when he was in with the Colts.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it was totally absurd. And I don't know.
I give home field advantage. I think it was the I mean, we didn't do well when we were playing the John Elway out there.
Right.
We've
We've always played bad in Denver.
It's the stadium. It's the home field advantage. It's just like playing in Seattle. It's just terrible.
Yep.
I'm never going to give it to Peyton Manning ever. Never.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I don't give it to Peyton Manning, but I do give it to the Denver Broncos. That franchise is an elite franchise
They are,
that has
absolutely.
been
That's how
very
they're
good
made,
for a
yeah.
very long
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And, home field advantage is a really,
means
really
a lot.
huge factor, and that's why 90% agree with you.
Yep. All right, and with that, we need to take a break here on The Big Picture. My name is Kevin Vent. We have Rob, we have Marcel, we have Jonathan. We will be back in just one moment. You're watching The Big Picture on RCTV. back here with the Big Picture live here on January 28th, 2016, as we are mourning the loss of the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. We have Rob, we have Marcel, we have Jonathan. My name is Kevin, and we are going to continue to talk about the Patriots here in the second half. In the first half, we kind of reviewed the Patriots' regular season and the AFC Championship game. Next year, next season, 2016, what do the Patriots need to do to overcome the AFC Championship game hump for next year? John, what do you think?
Well, obviously, it begins with the offensive line.
Yeah.
Then again, they are getting their first round pick from a few years ago, Nate Solder, back.
Right.
So that's going to be amazing for them, and a huge boost.
Yeah.
So Brady can't run around scared anymore. You
I
know.
know.
So yeah, I think it begins there.
Begins with the offensive line.
But apart from that, it's really more of a cap space issue. They have a lot of people coming back, actually, especially their defense. I mean, this is one of the best defenses they've had in over a decade, in my opinion. It's really been since the 2004 season that we've seen a defense like this before. And their big four in Chandler Jones, Dante Hightower, Jamie Collins, and help me out, Malcolm Butler, are all signed for one more year this next year. Two of which have high-end contracts, and two of them have been outplaying their contracts. So it's more of a kind of how do we extend these guys to keep this defense going?
I think one of the difficult decisions they have there is also Gerard Mayo, who was injured, has kind of fallen off the charts there. He's not up this year, but he's a big money guy for them because he was terrific, and then he had the injury. And was this just the injury recovery season, a la Kevin Garnett in 2010 or whatever it was? And in 2011, he comes back. Garnett comes back and is awesome. You see Mayo do that also, but I think that's another question there. Rob, what do you think the Patriots need to do?
I'm going to agree with your brother, Kevin. I think the offensive line really needs to have a revamp in drafting players this year, and obviously, I think the secondary needs a lot of revamped players as well because of obviously in key games they were not the greatest, I feel, and I think those are the two big options that they need.
Really, I find that interesting because I thought the secondary played out of their minds in the big games.
Well, I
Logan
think,
Ryan, Malcolm Butler, and then the two safeties. I mean, they were the safeties in particular. I think were one of the best safety corps in football.
Absolutely.
At the beginning of the year, they looked very, very shaky to me,
Okay.
and I think that they need to obviously revamp secondary, offensive line, and obviously building a bulk core, obviously in the tight ends and wide receivers and stuff like that, because they didn't really draft many players at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I think they definitely need a really long, wide-out threat out there. I mean, Brendan Lafell, when he came back from his injury, you know how many touchdowns he had all season? Goose egg.
Yeah, 0.
Big fat 0. He did have one, got taken away from a penalty. I was very excited when that happened. I'm not about the penalty, but when he got a touchdown, I'm like, yeah, Brendan Lafell's back. I mean, definitely a standout wideout. I mean, if they have the cap space to actually go out and sign a free agent, anyone know of the free agents available? I think Anquan Bolden is available.
Well,
I mean, he's a little bit
He's not
older.
really a deep threat anymore.
What
not
about
anymore.
Johnson from Detroit? That keeps coming up.
Calvin
right?
Johnson?
Calvin Johnson.
How cool would that be?
I
And
believe
Fitzgerald,
Malcolm
wasn't
Floyd from San Diego is available.
The only problem with Calvin Johnson is I don't know if he'd be asking for a lot of money because if
He
he
is got a
is,
big
it's because he's
big
a
hit.
big time name player out there.
Yeah, he's good.
I don't know if he's going to be asking for a lot of
Yeah,
money.
and I'm not
honest.
convinced that Calvin Johnson is a deep threat wide receiver anymore either. I mean,
No.
you watch him with
Game's
Detroit
changed.
this year. He's a middle of the field kind of guy, and he just didn't have it.
I'll tell you, he'll be more of a threat than James White was.
Well, that's true.
Well, obviously, when he first came into the NFL, he was a big name. He came right out of college, and he was the receiver to be.
And he absolutely has been. I'm not taking anything away from Calvin Johnson, but
right.
you got to think about not what he has done, but what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And they have Gronkowski, Edelman, and Amendola to fill that mid-range role. That's not what they need. They have the running backs to do that behind the line dump off kind of thing.
Right.
I'm not convinced Calvin Johnson is that different than Gronkowski.
Right.
In terms
Like
of
a tight end.
as a receiver,
right.
he's very similar.
That's right. That's right.
I'd rather get someone different. Malcolm Floyd is an interesting one to me. I don't know what San Diego is going to be doing. Of course, they're not going to be San Diego anymore either. They're going to be L.A. So the L.A. Superchargers. Or I don't know.
I think they're keeping the Rams.
I think Rams.
LA Rams, This thing, it's going to be LA Rams.
L.A. Rams and L.A. Chargers.
Chargers,
It's Oakland that's staying in Oakland, and then they're going to get paid to stay in Oakland, hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever. But it's interesting you bring up James White. the AFC Championship game, not to go back into the last segment, but did you notice they do the exact same play to James White 3 times, and he dropped the ball every time? That outstretch play where he dives. Obviously, he must have been able to do it in practice.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's the same exact
Same
play,
play.
3 times down the field.
Got to get it right.
And he had it in his hand, or it either went through his hands, or he had it. He
Just
dropped
off the
it.
fingertips.
I don't understand that. Well, why, after you,
Extra
and the
stuff.
third one was a potential touchdown play.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
It's like they weren't anticipating the speed of the Denver defensive back.
Yep.
So the pass was right where we're supposed to be.
Yep.
James White was there.
Yep.
But the defensive back was also there, and it's like
Yep.
the Patriots
Yep.
weren't anticipating that. But yeah, if James White is your deep presence,
Yeah.
I would also say that we need another tight end.
Okay.
I mean, because we had what was
Scott
it?
Chandler was a disappointment this
He
year.
was a
Yeah, he
disappointment,
was.
but if he hadn't been, that would have solved that problem.
It
But,
would've.
you need somebody else beside Gronkowski because he's just such a monster. But somebody else to play off of him, maybe.
The injuries are really scary, especially if, like you were saying.
Absolutely.
I mean, you need another guy behind him just in case if he does get injured. Again.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Chandler was supposed to be that guy.
Absolutely.
And he showed some flashes in the end of
Yeah.
last season. But, I was expecting a lot out of him this season. I wasn't expecting to be Gronkowski.
Right.
But I was
Right.
expecting he was going to catch
Right.
30 passes this year and probably 4 or 5 touchdowns maybe or something
Yeah.
like that. And he was nothing.
And
Now, he
that-
did get injured, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the style is that, deep threats are probably not the norm anymore, right? Because can Brady hit him? I think he can. But you don't have to hit him every single
no.
play.
You just have to
Wouldn't
have the
it be
danger.
Wouldn't it be great on first down to just let it go 40 yards up the seam or
Right.
just some threat somewhere that
Yeah.
can double as
In a
a
perfect world, that would happen.
Well, which is
It
what they
would-
had in 2007 with Randy Moss.
Just-
They didn't hit Randy Moss on every play,
course
but the
not.
fact that Randy Moss was there and you knew he
You
could
had
beat
to
him.
pay
able
attention to
yeah,
him.
he was able to beat those defensive players because he knew he had the length, and that's why he was so good.
Right.
2010.
I agree with the offensive line. To me, that's number one. Yeah, you probably know who my least favorite player on the Patriots is. Fleming. Every time someone gets beat, it's always Fleming. It's like they're showing Von Miller come around and pound
Yeah.
Brady to the turf. Oh,
Yeah.
who was going against him? Oh, it was Fleming.
Wow.
Well, you wonder though if the 2 releases this week, right, with the strength and conditioning
Yeah,
coach
right.
and the offensive line coach, there's something going on there, don't you think?
Yeah.
These are professional athletes. They should have. They should. Right? I mean, they've been playing 17 games. They got 18 games.
Right.
Come on, to get beat that often, that many times
Yeah.
by the same player.
Yeah.
Don't they regroup timeouts when they're sitting on the sidelines? You're being beat. Do this instead.
Right.
Don't they offer those suggestions?
And
Is that
one of the
something they
things you
just-
typically do against a pass rush like that is you leave a running back in the backfield to block for you. And I noticed they didn't really do that in this game. They didn't have
They went
Steven
7
Jackson or
wide or
James
something.
White
Yeah.
back there to kind of handle. Even though it was only 4 guys, they were really expecting that our 5 guys, were going to beat their 4 guys or their 3 guys, and it still didn't happen.
Still didn't happen.
So I would have. I mean, I don't know why they didn't. Maybe they. I don't know. It seems to me what
It's
the releasing of the offensive line coach means something.
Something, absolutely.
It means something.
I think those offensive line coaches obviously do offer those types of suggestions when they're in the
Yeah.
timeouts, but I think that they obviously have certain things on their minds, obviously plays, what they see from the sidelines, and then whatever
Well,
it's.
isn't
yeah.
it true though when you're playing an offensive line, if you have a running game, there's a certain technique that they use.
Yes,
but since they
right.
weren't running the ball, what's their? Isn't it just to block the guy? I mean,
Yeah.
there's not much
That-
technique there, is there?
There's 2 different techniques involved. I mean, obviously, and actually, there's 2 different mentalities also. The mentality of the running game is we push guys out of the way.
Yeah.
The mentality of the passing game is like, oh, don't get to us. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about that.
right.
There's a
It's
skill set
just-
to both, and both are important. But sometimes you wonder if you can run the ball a little better, a little more. You develop that. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah.
That
Whatever. Yeah.
whatever. And
Confidence,
Confidence.
whatever, yeah.
That wasn't the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. But you develop that, and so you're able to actually, when you have to pass block, you actually kind of have that in the back of your mind. I really hope they release Fleming though. Fleming, I
Kevin
can't
just
say-
doesn't like Fleming.
I do not like Fleming. It seems like every time someone got beat badly this season,
It was yeah.
Fleming.
Let's
that
go back
got
to the
beat.
tape.
And,
Roll the tape.
and it's just like seriously, and he was way out on the end, and it just drove me crazy. Any place else we've talked about, and I agree. So I said defensive line. I also agree wholeheartedly with a deep threat on the wide receivers.
Yeah.
It's too easy for a good defense to pack it in the way Denver
That's right.
did
That's
to
right.
go 1-on-1 on the outside with was not a virtual. He was an absolute non-factor anywhere. And then to send those linebackers back to cover those mid-range stuff. And then what do the Patriots do? They don't have anything. So I think, I think it's offensive line. I think the running backs have the skill set
I think they do.
to run, but it's the offensive line not opening the holes in the running game and not protecting in the passing game. But that deep threat helps the offensive line.
Absolutely.
with that.
Absolutely. Keeps them guessing.
it
Yep.
does.
So, any other thoughts on what needs to happen next year? Obviously, you need a new offensive line coach. I don't know if anyone's planning on applying for that job.
I applied, but I haven't.
You
got a call
applied, but you
I
haven't heard
got a
back.
call
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm sure they'll call you for an
They need
interview
experience
soon.
somewhere.
Yeah. Anything else on Patriots next season? Predictions for Patriots next season. Patriots team, the Patriots team that you saw leave the field on Sunday, what are they going to do next year?
I think if they bulk up on the offensive line, like everyone's been agreeing about, I think that if they have players that are going to be behind, obviously the starting offensive line, I think they will be okay. Obviously, tight end position, secondary, in my opinion, and that's pretty much all I have.
So, my feeling is with next year is, first of all, if you look at the schedule, it's a tough schedule.
It's a tough schedule.
Yeah,
Tough
really.
schedule. They
I
had
haven't
an
seen it,
easy
but-
schedule this year for the most part. It's a tough schedule next
schedule.
year. However, when I look at the AFC, you know,
Denver's the only game we have to go to
Denver, and
next
it's
year.
not going to be
Yeah.
Peyton Manning.
Won't be Peyton Manning.
You know, you're talking Brock Osweiler. Can you do it for a whole season? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know.
It's
I have a hard
it's
time not
no-brainer.
seeing the Patriots at least
Yeah, well,
in the AFC Championship game again
yeah,
next year. I mean,
think
I
you're right. And Las Vegas agrees with you. It's
Yeah, I
either
mean,
6-1 odds or 8-1.
the
whatever it was.
you know, obviously it comes down to the health of Brady, obviously,
Absolutely.
you know, and you know, or Gronkowski or
Yeah.
Edelman. I mean,
Yeah,
all those
health
things
is
play a
important.
factor. But you know, if the team that left the field on Sunday comes back next year fairly healthy, I don't see anyone that's going to replace them in the AFC Championship game. And I also could foresee to another 12-4 season.
Sure,
I
absolutely.
really can.
That'd be
I mean,
great. Yeah.
I'd even go a little higher. I think
13-3?
13-3.
Yeah,
They have to play
13-3 sounds
Seattle.
good,
They
yeah.
have to play at
Seattle,
Denver.
Yep.
at
They
Denver.
have to play. Who else did they have to play?
Well, they'd be playing the Texans. They'd be playing.
Are they playing the Texans?
Didn't they win the division? Didn't the Texans win the division?
The
Yeah,
Texans
but-
did win
They
the
always play the
division, but
AFC division
they-
winners.
No,
Okay.
So that's why they're playing
um,
Denver.
No, the Texans didn't win the division because they were.
Fact check.
No, they did.
No,
they
we
did.
got
They
a
did.
fact
I don't
check
think
guy.
they're playing the Texans though.
Texans won the
Oh,
division.
they did
So they
win
have
the
to-
division.
So
Okay.
what they do is
Okay.
they play the AFC division winners.
They're playing Pittsburgh again.
So,
they're playing
yeah,
Pittsburgh
they're
as
playing
well.
Pittsburgh. That they weren't a division winner, but
They're
they
playing-
so they play the Bengals next year though.
Bengals,
also.
that's right,
So
that's
they play, and then they play
Baltimore.
one other division.
They're
So,
gonna play
so they're
Baltimore.
playing Baltimore. I mean, it's a tough schedule.
It's a tough schedule.
It's a tough schedule.
I mean, is Baltimore really tough anymore?
No,
Come
no,
on.
no.
I think it's in Baltimore though. That's the only thing.
And what about on the NFC side? They're playing,
They're
the
playing
49ers.
49ers, Seattle. They're playing the
Seattle.
NFC West. So
NFC
they're
West.
playing. I think the Cardinals are on their schedule.
the Cardinals
too.
are
I
on
think
the
they got
schedule.
the Cardinals,
Absolutely.
Seattle,
San Francisco.
and the Rams.
The Rams.
So I mean, it's a tough schedule, but I still, you know, I still see him. I think 12-4, maybe
Yeah,
a little
I'd
higher,
say 13-3,
even 11-5. But
Yeah,
I just,
I think
but
so.
when they're playing the AFC, I don't see anybody that beats them in the AFC Championship. I don't know if anyone
Totally
disagrees
agree.
with me. Or
I totally agree.
feel
No,
free
I
to
agree.
disagree.
I mean, we have most of the guys. If most of the guys come back, I mean, this team has already proved that they can, you know, play at that sort of level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, so that'll, you know, theoretically that would be 6 straight AFC Championship game appearances.
There
and
you
it's
go.
an unbelievable string if you really
that'd
think
be great.
about it.
Yeah.
You know, really unprecedented in NFL history. This string that the Patriots are on, even
Really
just since 2007 or 2008, after the Brady injury year. So after 2000, so from 2009 on,
Right.
you know, this stretch is unprecedented in NFL history. And when you
Right.
consider the fact that they won all the Super Bowls prior to this stretch,
Right. That's right.
you know,
That's
I
right.
mean, we've been. For you guys who are younger and don't remember what it was like being a Patriots fan when they were horrible.
No, I remember.
You remember. I know you remember.
Trevor,
I know.
remember Trevor Maddock from 1980?
Remember Hugh Millen?
Oh my God! Yeah.
Hugh Millen, who only lasted 2 games because the offensive line was so bad, they injured like 5 quarterbacks that year. I mean, it was unbelievable. But Hugh Millen, and who was that? Dick McPherson was the.
Dick McPherson, yeah.
Yeah, they were 1 in 15.
Rod Ross, remember the Rod Ross years?
Rod
That was
Rust.
pretty bad.
It was-
1990.
So I mean,
terrible.
we have a lot to be thankful for
We do.
with New England
Old Foxborough.
football.
How many games did you see in the old Foxborough?
I actually
Stadium?
never got to a game
Oh,
at
boy,
Old
that
Foxborough
was a lovely
Stadium.
I
Lovely
did, but I was
place.
very, very little.
Very
Lovely
little.
place.
Okay, yeah.
Lovely
I
place.
think I went to a Dave Matthews concert.
Okay, I
there.
should take that
Nice.
back. I saw you two in
DMV.
That counts.
You two.
That counts. That
in Old
counts.
Foxborough Stadium. I didn't see a football game there. I just was it you two or Genesis? It was Genesis. I said Genesis at
Nice,
Foxborough Stadium
nice, yeah.
back in the day.
Invisible touch tour.
That was
There
the
it
one.
is, there
That
it
was the one.
is,
I got
there it is.
I got tickets because they were there like for 4 weeks or something. You know, by the time I got to go, there was only about 15 people in the stands.
Like a Patriots game.
like
Maybe that was
like a
it.
Patriots. Well,
was it on
remember
Sunday?
when
Oh,
we
okay,
were
that
when we
makes
were
sense.
kids? If you remember, the Patriots weren't on TV because they were blacked
Never
out
on
all the
TV.
time because they
Never.
couldn't fill the stadium. They were
That's true.
never on
Absolutely
TV.
right.
I mean, so this has been a massive turnaround, and I don't have the stats in front of me, and I should have because I knew I was going to talk about this about since Kraft took over the team and how was the
Absolutely.
best winning percentage
Yep.
in the league, most Super Bowl appearances, because
Yep.
you go back to the '96 Super Bowl, also most Super Bowl wins, and,
Yep.
and all this kind of stuff, most AFC championship, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's been amazing.
Yeah, it's an absolute success story.
Absolutely.
But speaking
It
of
really
Super
is.
Bowl appearances, though, what really bothers me isn't the fact that we lost in 2011 and in 2009 against the Baltimore Ravens. 2006, we should have beaten the Colts.
Yes.
And we would have beaten Chicago.
We had that game, and we would have beaten Chicago.
And
Yep.
I think the two games, what is it? There's 2 games against the Giants in the Super Bowl. We lost both games
Yeah.
by total of what? Was it 10 points
Yeah.
total?
10
Both
It was one. They were
games?
both one-score
2007
games. They were both one-score games.
Yeah, one-score games.
And both of them
We'd
were
be
those
looking
scores in
at-
the last seconds of the game by the
We'd
Giants.
be looking
yeah.
at 6,
Super
7
Bowls.
Who cares about now? We should have had 3 more to this
Yeah.
point. It would have been
Easily could have had a couple more.
Easily.
Yep. Easily could have had a couple more. And that's amazing. All right, we're going to move on from the Patriots. One last bit of mourning.
No, I think
Okay. We do have a Super Bowl coming up in a couple weeks, and we're going to end our show talking about the coming Super Bowl. And I guess the first question I have about Super Bowl before we get to our Super Bowl predictions is the man whom Marcel hates, Peyton Manning. Does Peyton Manning retire after the Super Bowl?
Yes,
Marcel.
yes, he absolutely does.
In your dreams.
Yeah, he's going to retire, and I think it makes sense for him to retire. I don't think he's going to be offered a contract coming back.
Well, Denver has pretty much said they're not bringing him
Yeah,
back.
and
They
I
haven't
just don't
specifically
want the old Brett Favre tour. Try it with the
No, I hope
Jets.
The Jets, the
I hope-
Vikings,
I hope not.
I just, and it,
Reading High football.
he reminds me of Peyton Manning reminds me of Dan Marino. Dan Marino was an incredible quarterback. We
Right.
never could
He
beat
really was.
Miami in the early days.
Yeah. Oh,
Incredible
believe me, I
stats, but
remember.
I don't care about stats. I'll take Brady every day, twice on Sundays, and it's not because he's so awesome. It's because I just think he's a stats guy. And I'm not even going to give him the credit that it deserves, but that's just me. That's just me. So I'm not wishing the worst for him, but I think he's going to get beat by at least, I'd say 10 to 14 points.
Okay, we're going to get to predictions in a second.
Okay,
so
all right.
hold on to that.
I didn't give you a score, but good.
Okay. Peyton Manning, does he retire?
Yes, he does retire.
Okay, man, a few words. Peyton Manning, does he retire?
I do believe he's going to be retiring, and I do have something to back it up.
Okay, let's go.
He has, when the NFL cameras get all sorts of close to everyone at the
NFL
midfield after the
Films
AFC
Presents
Championship game.
Peyton Manning and Bill Belichick.
It's no
In a
longer
hug
behind
for the
closed doors.
ages.
In slow motion, by the way. Just
In
just
slow
so you know.
motion, Peyton Manning said, and I quote, "Hey, listen, this might be my last rodeo, so it sure has been a pleasure." He has said that to Bill Belichick. And so I believe his words. I believe he's not a liar. As much as we all love to hate him, I don't think he's a liar. I think he's an honest guy. So he has said that on
HGHB
record.
aside.
And
Oh,
also, and also
Right.
Yeah.
our friend Eli Manning has also gone on record saying, "I hope my big brother goes out on top." Why would he say that if
I
he,
know.
if he
That's
did not
right.
have inside
I
knowledge
hadn't
that
heard
Peyton
that.
Manning
I
was
hadn't
on
heard
it?
that.
That's
I hadn't
right.
heard
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Little brother thing going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Brothers always know.
Brothers
They always know. They do
always
know.
Brothers
They do know.
always know. All right. Well, Peyton Manning, I think if they win, which isn't going to happen, if they win, he absolutely retires. I think everybody wants the walk off in the sunset with the
Of
championship
course.
John Elway thing. So I absolutely think he does. If they lose, I think he thinks about it an awful lot, but I do think he retires also. I just. The plantar fasciitis thing, I actually have had that. I had it. I still have it in both of my feet.
Really?
Good times.
Good times. I mean, I was 29 years old. I couldn't walk past my mailbox without limping and all that
Really?
kind of stuff. And you still see me sometimes. I do. And that's what he had. And I know how painful it is. And I know how I give him all the credit in the world for getting through it and coming back this season. But at his age, he's done everything except win 2 Super Bowls.
I will say this. I mean, we sometimes mock him by only winning the one, but if he does win this Super Bowl, he'll have 2 Super Bowls and was it 5 MVPs?
Yeah.
5 MVPs, yeah.
So he would be, if he wins this, he would be, if you take in account the MVPs plus the Super Bowl wins, he will be the most decorated quarterback in NFL history.
Right.
So it has something for Tom Brady to shoot for.
Tom Brady
Keep on
shoot for
going.
4 rings and 2 MVPs, right, for Brady?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I mean, he'd
yeah.
be one behind. Yeah, okay, so that's interesting. That's not going to happen, so I don't have to worry about that. But we're not doing predictions yet. Anyway, I don't think I can say I hate Peyton Manning
I
the
don't
way
use
Marcel
hate,
does.
but
I think he's a huge competitor, obviously, and he's had a great career, but he has had the tendency to blow it in the big game. And the thing that I always remember about Peyton Manning more than anything else is I think it was a playoff game in Foxborough. It was either the championship game back in 2002 maybe or 2003, and it was cold and it was snowing. And the one where Peyton Manning got picked off like 4 times by Ty Law, and his quote at the end of the game was, "This is why I like playing football in domes."
Yes, that's yes.
And it was like,
right.
everybody else in the world loves snow football. It's the best thing to watch on TV.
It's
It's
arena
the most
football. It's
entertaining
arena
thing. It's a
football.
great brand of football. And I just said,
know,
in my parlance, what a girly man. And I respect what he's done on the field, obviously. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do what he has done. But at the end of the day, I think that little bit of weakness in him is what has kept him from winning 3 or 4 or more.
Wasn't he also the quarterback that complained about he actually singled out, was it with his kicker when he was with the Colts?
Yes, he was. He called him an idiot kicker. Yeah, that was prior to that's why they got Vinatieri. It's the year before they got Vinatieri. In Indianapolis.
That's right.
And he did. I forget who the kicker was off the top of my head. Fact check.
Vanderjack?
Yeah,
Vanderjack.
Vanderjack. Very good.
That came out of nowhere.
It was always I was waiting. I was waiting all day to have.
Praise you.
He has that one written down.
I know,
on his
So
he's
you just add all that stuff up, playing in the dome, playing in the arena football, having the,
Yeah. Anyway, I think he retires at the end. We need to move on. We only got a few minutes left here, and we need to talk about the big game.
The big game.
Super Bowl predictions. Rob McCarthy.
I think the Carolina Panthers are going to win, and the final score is going to be 27-14.
27-14 Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton gets his first ring.
Wow. I would say I was going to say 27. I'm going to give him into the 30s. 30, 33. I'm going to say 17. I think they'll score something late, but I think it'll be. I actually think it's going to be one of the old-fashioned football games.
Blowout.
I wouldn't say blow up, but I think it's going to be one of those
Just
games.
what CBS wants to hear. Super Bowl
I think it's going to
blowout.
be. I think it's going to be one of those games where I'm just going to be rooting left and right, and I think it's going to be. It won't be like we expect. I don't think it's going to be close, and I think it'll be. They'll score probably. They might even get the first 3 or maybe the first 7. But I think it'll be a big gap, kind of like our '85 Super Bowl against the Bears. We'll score first, they'll score last, and that'll be it.
That was the best 4 minutes of my life. When
Beginning
the
and the end.
Patriots scored the first 3 points in the Super Bowl in '85. I'm like, they could do this.
They were yes.
And then they didn't score
They didn't score again until the last 7.
second.
Just leave it to the halftime show.
I was like,
right.
we could do this. We could win the Super Bowl.
That's all.
Yeah, they almost scored another touchdown. Remember?
Yeah, I know. At the very end,
across
they
the
scored a
middle.
touchdown.
Across the middle.
What was it?
No, I mean early in the
87 to
first
10
quarter.
or something like
no,
that?
early
No.
in the first quarter, they had a potential for a touchdown
They
right
did.
across the middle.
Right
and
across the middle. They did it.
We were so cute back then.
We were so cute. I was
Love the
football
uniforms.
in the
Love the
back in
uniforms.
1986. All right. Prediction, Super Bowl. Jonathan Bent.
I really think Denver really took the loss to Seattle 2 years ago really hard.
Don't
No,
even,
no, don't put words in my
Don't
mouth.
even.
I'm just saying it's going to be a closer game than what Marcel and Rob has been saying. I think they took a good lesson from Seattle, and you can see their defense completely are playing out of their minds right now. I think their defense is playing well enough to keep the game close on Sunday. Well, next Sunday. I think Carolina still wins 20-17. Cam Newton's just too good, and
He's really shown it, yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My Super Bowl prediction for this year is that if Denver plays the defense they played against the Patriots, they will lose, and they will lose huge. And the reason for that is if you look the way that they did their pass defense and their rush, they were leaving huge gaps on the left or on the right, just basically baiting Brady to run. He had the one run for 10 yards. If they do that with Cam Newton, they are going to get torched because Cam Newton's going to run for 265 yards and 8 touchdowns. So they've got to completely change their defensive scheme and set up, a la the Patriots often do. The question is Denver able to do that? They pretty much have played that defensive scheme the entire year. And one of the things that they say the hardest thing to do is to go into halftime of the Super Bowl and completely change what you've done all year to get there.
That's right, yeah.
Because it's not working
Not a lot of
anymore.
time, right,
That's
right.
President Bartlett on the West Wing, by the way.
Good quote.
So anyway, if they play their standard defense that they have played all year, Cam Newton is going to torch them.
I agree.
I don't think they will. I agree with John. I think it's probably going to be a closer game than you guys have suggested. As much as I would really love to see 48 to 7
10.
or
Okay,
something
good.
like
That's
that.
good.
I would love to see that in a game because I would love to see Peyton Manning humiliated.
Manning face.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want him to win the second game. So I'm thinking a 24-17.
I'll take it. That's good.
Carolina
All right.
24-17.
That's good.
I do think Denver's defense is going to give Carolina problems outside of Cam Newton. Their receivers aren't great. Jonathan Stewart is a decent running back, but I just feel Denver's defense is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they're going to try to keep Cam Newton in the pocket. That is absolutely 100%.
That's gotta be the goal.
It has to be their game plan to
Yep.
keep them in the pocket and try and have Cam Newton beat him with his arm.
Yep.
But the problem is this year, did you even see Cam Newton play this year?
A little
His
bit.
arm,
Unfortunately, they don't show the Panthers all that often.
Yeah,
so
but,
we don't get to see him.
later
Yeah.
in the season, when I really got to see Cam Newton play, he has a rocket.
Unbelievable.
he does.
And
Yeah,
he's
he
accurate.
does.
Absolutely.
Well,
does.
his accuracy is suspect, but he has an.
He does have a
when he's-
rocket of an arm.
When he's on,
last,
he's on.
The
I
last
mean,
two
yes.
games in the playoffs,
Yes, I agree. In the
it's been
playoffs, he's
very
been
accurate.
He can
amazing.
really fire the ball.
Yeah, he can really fire it, and he can get rid of it quick.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. To me, with Cam Newton, it's the decision-making process. If Denver can force Cam Newton to have to stay in the pocket, it's how quick can he make a decision? Can he
Yeah.
pick 1, 2, 3, go?
Right.
He's got a decent
Right.
tight end. His receivers are only okay.
Yeah,
Although,
I mean,
honestly, would you
do
take
you
Ted
think that
Ginn
will
Jr.
lead
for the
him to-
Patriots? I would.
But having said that, I agree with you. The Denver cornerbacks are
really good.
definitely better than
Yeah.
the Carolina wide receivers.
Yes.
So I mean,
So it's going to be a running attack type of game, I think, and they're going to use the running game to set up the passing game. They're going to force
Which
those
they do. They have a-
safeties to come in to
Yep.
defend
Right,
against the
exactly.
run
Yep.
and
Yep.
go one-on-one on the outside of receivers and count on Newton fitting the ball in.
Yep.
If Denver can contain Newton, if Denver can't contain Cam Newton,
Was anybody able to contain him this year?
I don't
'Cause he
know.
was
We didn't
running
see
all
enough
over the
games.
place.
This is one of my complaints about
I
the
mean,
I
the
did
NFL
see
was
one
They
of
show
the
you the
games.
Giants
It
every
was-
week, and you never see the team that's in the Super Bowl.
That's true.
I did see one of the games on a obviously on a Sunday afternoon. It was a 1 o'clock game. He was running all over the place. So
Yeah.
they were rushing him, but he was still able to get out of the pocket and run upfield.
Okay, so we have a complete sweep here on the predictions in terms of the winner. Carolina, 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 Carolina. A little more distance in the score here, a little less distance in the score here. But I can tell you that I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl this year. I really want to see Peyton Manning lose. I really do.
you know what? I mean, I
Sorry for all you Peyton Manning
Thank you.
fans out there,
No.
but I really want to see Peyton
I really love it when the Patriots are in the Super Bowl, but just the stress really gets to me. And you
It's
know what?
true.
I kind of want to enjoy Coldplay at the
I
halftime.
agree.
That's
you know?
right. There we go. Stress free. All right. Well, as we're finishing up here, I want to thank my panel members. Thanks, Rob McCarthy. Thanks, Marcel Dubois. Thanks, John E. Vent, for
right.
being with us today on the Big Picture Live here on the 28th. We will be in reruns and stuff like that leading up to the Super Bowl. And the Super Bowl is happening on February 7th.
That sounds
And by the way, here at RCTV, we are hosting a Super Bowl party. And you can watch that Super Bowl not on only one giant 14-foot screen or
Right.
whatever, 12-foot
Two
screen it is, but there's actually going to be two
Two
screens.
screens.
And so if you're here in Reading and you want to just check out Super Bowl on a big screen without any stress because the Patriots aren't playing, and we'll have a bunch of food, and we're going to have a great old time watching Peyton Manning cry.
Or complain.
Or complain, or
right?
whatever. Anyway,
Manning
come on down
face.
here to RCTV and enjoy the Super Bowl on February 7th, and that will be starting, I believe, doors open at 5 o'clock. So join us here. My name is Kevin Vent. You have been watching The Big Picture Live here on RCTV. Have a great day and enjoy the Super Bowl.